When you look at women who genuinely live at an elevated level, not performing wealth, not staging a life for other people to admire, but actually embodying refinement in the way they move through every single day, there is a set of habits beneath the surface that most people never identify. These are not things they do for show. They are not habits reserved for mornings when someone is watching or evenings when the occasion calls for it. They are things these women do because that is simply who they are, every day, without applause, without audience. And those habits, practiced consistently, quietly, without announcement, compound over time into a life that feels fundamentally different from the average, a life that looks, from the outside, like it was simply handed to someone, but which is in reality built one small daily decision at a time. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on 10 of them. Not the obvious ones, not the ones written on every lifestyle blog you have already read. The ones that actually shift something. The ones that change not just how you look, but how you live, how you feel, and how the world responds to you when you walk into a room. Welcome to Mother Coded. If you are watching from the United States, hit the like button right now. It tells the platform this content is worth putting in front of more women who need it. And if you are watching from anywhere else in the world, drop your city in the comments. We want to know where our community is growing. We are counting down from 10 to 1 because we want the most powerful habit, the one that changes everything else, to land when you are fully dialed in. Let's begin. Habit 10. They always have fresh flowers in their home. This one sounds decorative, almost trivial. It is neither. Upper-class women almost universally keep fresh flowers somewhere in their home, not for guests, not for photographs. Most of the time, no one else ever sees them. They do it for themselves. Because the decision to bring something living and beautiful into your everyday space, not just on birthdays, not just when someone is coming over, is a decision about what you believe you deserve. It is the daily, physical, visible declaration, my environment matters. I deserve beauty in the ordinary days of my life, not only the special ones. Researchers at Rutgers University found that the presence of fresh flowers in a home triggers measurable positive emotional responses, reduces cortisol levels, and increases feelings of life satisfaction. The key distinction in the research was the word fresh, not artificial, not dried, but alive and changing. Because what signals abundance is not permanence. It is the willingness to invest in something temporary because the quality of your daily experience is worth it. A named Catherine, a teacher in San Francisco, began buying a small bouquet from her local grocery store every week, $6. She said within a month, her home stopped feeling like a place she merely existed inside and began feeling like a place she had chosen, curated, and loved. The lesson is not about the price of the flowers. It is about the habit of the investment. Every week, without exception, something living, something beautiful placed where you will actually see it. It sets the tone for everything else. Habit 9. They never leave the house without lipstick or lip color. This one sounds old-fashioned until you begin paying close attention to it, and then you realize it is everywhere among women who look consistently composed, regardless of what else they are wearing. They never leave the house with something on their lips. Not necessarily a full face of makeup, not always color. Sometimes it's simply a tinted balm, a soft rose, a nude with a hint of warmth, but it is always something, always finished. Here's why it works. Studies in social perception consistently show that the mouth is one of the primary focal points during face-to-face interaction. When there is color and definition on the lips, a woman appears more awake, more deliberate, more finished, even when everything else is entirely bare. But the deeper function of this habit is not about how other people see you. It's about the ritual. That final step before you walk out the door is a 10-second act of showing up for yourself, of choosing on this particular morning to leave the house with intention rather than simply necessity. And that choice, made consistently, every day, including the unremarkable ones, shapes how you carry yourself for the hours that follow. A school principal named Diane in Charleston began committing to this habit even on weekends, even for the school run. She told us that people began treating her differently, more warmly, more attentively, and she realized quickly that it wasn't the lipstick itself, it was the confidence that came from a woman who had decided she was worth those 10 seconds. The practice? Find one shade that works for everything you own. A classic rose, a warm nude, a deep berry for evenings. Make it non-negotiable, part of getting dressed, as automatic as putting on shoes. Habit 8. They speak in complete sentences at a measured pace. We are moving now into habits that have nothing to do with appearance, and this one is significant. Upper-class women do not rush their words. They don't talk over people. They don't paper over silence with nervous chatter or reflexive filler. They speak in complete sentences at a measured pace, and they allow their words to land before they move on. When you're around women who were raised with this habit or who have cultivated it deliberately, you notice it immediately. There is a calmness to how they communicate, a sense that they are not performing urgency, a quiet signal that they are not afraid of the space their words take up. Research from Stanford on speech patterns and perceived authority found something striking. People who speak more slowly and deliberately are consistently rated as more competent, more credible, and higher status than people who speak quickly, even delivering identical content. The words are the same, the pace is different, the perception changes entirely. This is not about changing your voice, not about adopting an accent or manufacturing calm you don't feel. It's about slowing down enough to sound like you have already thought about what you were saying, like your words were chosen, not simply released. A consultant named Julia in Dallas used to speak quickly because she feared people would lose interest or interrupt her. When she began pausing between thoughts, finishing each sentence fully, allowing silence to exist briefly after something important, she told us the dynamic in every room she entered shifted. People stopped interrupting. They started seeking her opinion specifically. They listened as though they expected what she said to be worth waiting for. Because it was. The practice? Before you speak, take one breath, finish your thought completely, pause, let it settle, then continue.
Habit 7. They maintain their nails impeccably, even if it is just a clear coat. Upper-class women's nails are always done, not always dramatic, not always colored. Often they are simply wearing a clear coat or a pale neutral, but they are consistently, reliably, non-negotiably maintained. No chips, no ragged edges, no neglected cuticles. Because your hands are never hidden. They are in every handshake, every gesture, every moment you reach across a table or hand someone something or open a door. They are one of the most visible parts of you, and they communicate constantly. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that grooming details, nail maintenance specifically, are used as unconscious proxies for conscientiousness and self-discipline. When your nails are well kept, people make the automatic assumption that you are someone who takes care of details in every area. And beyond perception, this habit is about how you feel from the inside. A woman named Rebecca from Minneapolis neglected her nails for years without thinking about it. When she began getting them done every 2 weeks, nothing complex, just a clean shape and clear polish, she told us something unexpected happened. She became aware of her hands in a way she never had been, how she gestured, how she picked things up, how she presented herself when she spoke. The nails themselves were almost beside the point. The awareness they created was everything. The lesson? You do not need acrylics, gel, or anything elaborate. You need clean, shaped nails with healthy cuticles, refreshed consistently. Even a careful home manicure works. The key is the word consistently, not occasionally, consistently. Habit 6. They keep a running list of things worth talking about. This habit surprised us when we first began noticing it, but once we started asking, we found it everywhere. Upper-class women maintain a running list, mental or written, of interesting things they have read, heard, or encountered during the week. Not gossip, not complaint, not personal drama. Substantive things they want to bring into conversation. An idea from an article, a documentary that shifted something, a question a podcast raised that they have not finished thinking about. And they bring these things up naturally when they are with people, not to perform intellectualism, because they are genuinely engaged with the world beyond their immediate circumstances. This habit does two things simultaneously. It makes you a more interesting conversationalist, someone people seek out, not just tolerate, and it signals without announcement that you have the time and mental space to engage with ideas, which is itself a marker of a certain kind of life. Research from the University of Chicago on social class and conversation found that people in higher socioeconomic groups are significantly more likely to reference cultural content, current events, and intellectual material in casual conversation, while those in lower socioeconomic groups tend to remain anchored to immediate personal concerns. The gap is not intelligence, it is habit. An HR director named Vanessa in Atlanta began keeping a notes section on her phone for anything interesting she came across. She said it transformed her at dinners and networking events. Instead of reaching for something to say, she always had something real to bring, something she had thought about, something she genuinely cared about. The practice? When you encounter something worth remembering, write it down. Then bring it up the next time the opportunity exists. I was reading something interesting this week. It becomes natural faster than you expect. Habit 5. They invest in their undergarments as much as their outer clothing. This is the habit no one else sees. That is precisely the point. Upper-class women spend real consideration on their undergarments, bras that fit correctly, underwear that is comfortable and well-made, foundation pieces that are chosen rather than grabbed, not because anyone else will see them, but because they will feel them all day. And when the foundation layer is right, everything built on top of it changes. Clothes fit better, posture straightens naturally, movement becomes more fluid. There is a confidence that comes from what is not visible to others, but from knowing that what is invisible is also right. Psychology research on what is called enclosed cognition, the effect of clothing on the wearer's internal state, shows consistently that what you wear next to your skin affects your sense of self-worth, your posture, and your physical confidence as profoundly as what you wear on the outside. The invisible layer is not a minor detail. It is the foundation the rest is built on. A woman named Lisa from Houston wore the same 3 ill-fitting bras for years. When she was finally professionally fitted and invested in 3 that actually worked for her body, she told us it was like rediscovering her clothes. Everything looked better. She moved differently. She felt, in a word she used herself, more like herself. The lesson? You do not need 50 pieces. You need 5 that fit you perfectly. A well-fitted bra, quality underwear that doesn't compromise your comfort or your confidence. That's the investment. It costs more once and pays back every morning. Habit 4. They write handwritten thank you notes. In the general population, this habit is disappearing. Among upper-class women, it's completely alive, and it is one of the most powerful social tools they consistently use. When someone does something for them, hosts a dinner, offers a connection, gives a gift, extends a kindness, they send a handwritten note, not a text, not an email, not even a voicemail, a physical note on real stationery delivered through the post. Here is why this works so completely. In a world of instant digital communication, a handwritten note arrives as something almost startling. It says, I valued this interaction enough to sit down, select paper, choose words, seal an envelope, and send something tangible into the world for you to hold in your hands. That investment of time and deliberateness signals the relationship matters in a way no message notification ever can. Research published in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that recipients of handwritten gratitude notes rate the sender as significantly more thoughtful, more considerate, and higher status than those who send digital equivalents. And the senders themselves report higher well-being, more positive affect, and stronger social relationships over time. But beyond all of that, this habit slows you down. It makes you actually reflect on what you are grateful for. It builds relationships with a substance and durability that digital communication simply does not. And nonprofit director named Margaret in Nashville keeps a small box of plain note cards and stamps on her desk. She writes 2 or 3 a week, nothing long, just a few genuine sentences. She told us people mention those notes to her years later. They still have them. The practice? Buy a simple box of elegant note cards, keep stamps on hand, and within 48 hours of receiving any kindness, write 3 sentences. That's enough. That's more than most people will do, and it is remembered far longer than most things you will ever say.
Habit 3. They have a morning that belongs to them before anyone else claims it. This is where we move from habits that shape appearance to habits that shape a life. And this one is the foundation of all the others. Upper-class women almost universally protect a pocket of time in the morning that belongs entirely to themselves, before the demands of the day arrive, before the notifications, before anyone else's needs begin shaping how they think and feel and move. Sometimes this is an hour, sometimes it is 20 minutes, but it is non-negotiable. They wake before their household. They sit with coffee or tea. They read, write, move their body, sit in silence, or do whatever it is that fills them rather than drains them. The specific activity is almost beside the point. What matters is that the first part of their day was claimed, chosen, not reactive. Research from the University of Nottingham on morning routines and daily well-being found that people who begin the day with a period of solitary, self-directed time report significantly higher feelings of agency, lower stress through the day, and greater overall life satisfaction than those who begin in immediate response to external demands. The difference is not circumstantial, it is causal. How you begin determines, more than most people realize, how you proceed. A woman named Elaine in Denver began waking just 30 minutes before her children, nothing more. She used those 30 minutes to journal and drink her coffee without interruption. She said it transformed her parenting, her marriage, and her sense of herself. Not because 30 minutes is magical, because 30 minutes of beginning on her own terms every single day was cumulative. It compounded. The practice: set your alarm 15 minutes earlier than you believe you need. Do not check your phone. Do one thing that is yours alone. Then let the day begin. Habit 2, they have cultivated one area of culture they understand deeply. This is one of the most defining habits on this list, and it is the one that most clearly separates women who have genuinely elevated their lives from women who are simply performing the surface of elevation. Upper-class women do not consume culture broadly and shallowly. They go deep in one place. Perhaps it is contemporary art, or classical music, or architecture, or literature, or wine, or film. But wherever they have chosen to invest their curiosity, they have invested it fully. They have opinions, informed ones. They can speak to what they love and what they do not, and they know why. They can engage in real conversation about it and emerge having said something worth hearing. This is not about intellectual performance. It is not about signaling status through cultural reference. It is about having a relationship with beauty and with ideas that extends beyond the day-to-day. Something that enriches the texture of life. Something that makes you more interesting to yourself. Research from Harvard on upper-class social identity found that one of the strongest predictive markers is the presence of specialized cultural knowledge in at least one domain. Not surface awareness, genuine depth. The kind of knowledge that only comes from sustained, voluntary, joyful investment. A lawyer named Patricia in Philadelphia began attending one museum exhibit per month and reading about the artist beforehand. She told us it gave her something to think about beyond her work and her obligations. And when she began bringing it into conversation, not to impress anyone, simply because she was genuinely interested, people began seeing her differently, more layered, more alive. The practice: choose one thing, one area of culture that genuinely interests you, not the one that sounds impressive, the one that actually pulls at you. Then go deeper than you have gone before. Books, events, conversations, opinions. Let it become part of your identity, not just something you do occasionally, but something you are. Habit 1, they treat every interaction as though it matters. And here we are. Number 1, the habit that more than any other on this list defines how upper-class women move through the world. They treat every interaction as though it matters. With the barista, the parking attendant, the receptionist in the waiting room, the colleague they have no particular reason to impress, the stranger holding the door, every person they encounter in a day receives the same thing: eye contact, genuine attention, a please and a thank you that were actually meant. This is not performance. It is not the strategic deployment of warmth for social benefit. It is a reflection of how they see the world. Every person has value. Every moment of contact is an opportunity to make another human being feel that they were seen. And grace is not a finite resource. It costs nothing to spend. Research from Yale on social behavior in class found that women in higher socioeconomic groups who maintain their position over time, meaning they do not experience downward social mobility, consistently score higher on measures of interpersonal warmth and respect across all social strata. Treating people well is not merely a moral position. It builds social capital that is real, substantial, and compounding. But more than the strategic dimension, this habit is about character, about the internal story you tell about who you are. When you treat every person with dignity, not because of what they can do for you, not because anyone is watching, but simply because they are a person in front of you, you reinforce to yourself that you operate from abundance, that your kindness is not rationed, that you are someone who makes the room slightly better by passing through it. A woman named Caroline in Richmond, Virginia, began making a conscious daily practice of treating every person she encountered, everyone, as though they were someone she was happy to see. Warm, present, actually interested. She said it changed her life. Not because people began treating her better, though they did, but because she began feeling differently about herself, more connected, more whole, less like someone passing through her own days at a remove. The practice is simple, and it is enough. Tomorrow, make eye contact with every person you interact with. Use their name when you know it. Say thank you as though you mean it. Ask someone how they are and wait for the answer. Notice what that does to your day. Because here is the truth beneath everything on this list. Lifestyle is not built by money. It is not assembled from the right purchases or the right address or the right clothes. It is built by how you move through the world, by the daily, private, accumulating decisions about who you are when no one is grading you. And this habit, more than any other on this list, is that decision made visible.
10 habits. Look at this list and notice what is not on it. There is no mention of income, no reference to a particular postcode, a particular school, a particular background, because that is the point. These habits are about attention, intention, and a certain quality of self-respect that shows up in how you treat your own life and the people who pass through it. Every single one of them is available to you now, starting with the very next moment. We are building something on this channel, a community of women who are not performing elevation, but genuinely practicing it, one small, daily, intentional decision at a time.
If that is the woman you are becoming, subscribe to Mother Cotted right now. Turn on your notifications because what is coming next goes deeper. We are building a full video on the systems that make these habits sustainable, the structures that keep you rooted in this way of living, even when life gets chaotic, when the day runs away from you, when you lose your footing for a week and need to find your way back. That is coming, and you will not want to miss it. Subscribe, share this with one woman in your life who needs it, and know that we are genuinely glad you are here. Welcome to Mother Cotted. See you in the next one.